Salutations, people who watch things on the internet. Wednesday, afternoon, and it's time for our Doctor Who review. Please go subscribe if you haven't. Go check out the last Do or Do Not there. The greatest movie ever sold, and last week's Doctor Who review is over in the other corner. It's late this week because iTunes decided that for whatever reason they didn't want to put up the episode Sunday morning, or even I don't even know when it goes up, if it's midnight Saturday night or midnight Sunday, but Monday night. Oh no. Wait, I watched, Monday night at 11:30 at night, I saw it was up, and I was download, and I was I know I can't even watch this until I get home from work on Tuesday, and then I was going to film some stuff last night, but I'm so tired. I had other work to do. So it's Wednesday, and means we're talking about Doctor Who right now. Huge shout out to my friends over at Timey Wimey TV. You can go to timeyWimey.tv or at TimeyWimey on Twitter, Rudy and Liz, for their shout out. Because I actually got to listen to their podcast before I shot my review, which usually doesn't happen. And it's funny because in the last podcast they mentioned how I'm usually first shooting my reviews before they get to shoot theirs. So it's a little flip-flop today. So I actually get to comment on a lot of things they said in their podcast in my little video review. So we're going to talk about, I can't even remember, the People of the Flesh, I think it's called. I forgot the title of this week's episode because it's been so ridiculous. Anyways, thanks Rudy and Liz for the shout out there. And yeah, my last name is ridiculous. And the other Andrew Seeley is that famous Canadian pop star who works on a lot of Disney movie things, which I have a funny story I'll tell you sometime in person about that. But it's quite funny. People actually get me and him mixed up, and I'm like, really? Do you not know what that guy looks like? Because I'm not him. I'm not a white guy who sings in Disney musicals. Anyways, completely off topic from Doctor Who. So, sorry, Liz and Rudy, I have to disagree. I actually liked this week's episode. I wouldn't say it's my favorite one ever, but you guys were a little harsh on it in terms of it being disjointed and it kind of being one of those episodes where we don't care about the people, which is our valid point. And Liz, you talked a lot about the fact that it's kind of a morality ethics episode, and I really like that about this episode. And it worked, and it's a two-parter, and I've said this before in the sense that the two-parters for me have to be very much about here, we're going to set things up and we're going to tell you just enough at the end of it where it's not like a cliffhanger, but at least is building up to the second half being a bigger climax to the episode, which I felt was a big letdown in the two-part opener of the season in terms of they just kind of giant cliffhanger, what is going on? I don't know. Khan or who? There, that was for all you fun people out there. But this one, I feel built up. We know what's happening. They reveal that the gangers, the doppelgangers, are setting up this big dramatic climax to the episode, and we're going to be leading into that. And I'm extremely excited to see where the episode goes and how everything resolves in terms of the doppelgangers, the why the acid is even being pumped in the first place. The TARDIS is sinking into the ground. There's a second Doctor, for crying out loud. All these amazing things are going to be explained in the second part, but I didn't feel like I got left with a cliffhanger where I was if you don't tell me this second, I'm going to die. But I'm very excited and curious to what you set up coming up. Yes, the episode has some issues, and it's a lot of talking heads and a lot of just people figuring things out. The thing I was most disappointed about in this episode, and you guys actually, Liz and Rudy, didn't talk about, was the fact that the opening bloody scene was the whole Amy pregnant, not pregnant thing again. I'm so sick of them rubbing that in my face. I get it. She's not pregnant, and she's pregnant at the exact same time, and it's going to have a bigger implication for the rest of the season. I get it. Seriously, stop rubbing it in my face. Sorry. It's really annoying at this point to have it be rubbed in my face at the beginning of an episode and the end of an episode and the beginning of the next. Enough. I get it. The only thing that didn't get rubbed in my face this week was the fact that Amy knows that the Doctor is going to die and she's struggling about telling him about it. So let's jump into the meat of the episode. I really like the idea yeah, the beginning episode, you're just like, this guy falls in the acid, and they're like, whatever, no biggie, like, we'll see you later. And then we find out later that it's because of this flesh that is alive. And I think I called in last week's review, because of the preview of this week, that there was going to be a clone of the Doctor, so ping, one for me. Because at the end of this episode, obviously, we find out that there is a second Doctor. And which is really interesting because Matt Smith playing off himself is, going to be a fun thing. And at one point, after the lightning storm hits, or the solar storm hits, and everyone's lying on the ground, I was like, sweet, Rory's dead again. And then he wakes up, and I was like, he's not dead. But we'll see. Maybe Rory will die some way. I don't hate Rory. I just don't care for him at all. And there are some interesting points about Rory that were brought up in this episode, in the sense that he is a caregiver and he latches on to Jen, the Doppel Jen. But I don't know. I was like so lost that there wasn't more tension between a clear kind of diversion to kind of hopefully ramp up the sense that Amy cares about Rory and that their relationship actually is necessary to the plot line that's running through this season. But she almost didn't seem like, she seemed a little annoyed and just like whatever, but she didn't ever seem to like fight for Rory, which I don't know, maybe is just playing into the fact that she really still loves the Doctor a lot more than she loves Rory, because she's just like, she doesn't run after Rory at the end. She had a chance to go with him. She stays with the Doctor, obviously. Yes, Matt Smith has to physically pull her in the door, but and then we have like this flip-flopping with Rory's personality. Like, sometimes he's the very in the beginning of the episode, he doesn't want to go inside the monastery, and here later in the episodes he grows a pair and is running after this doppelganger who we haven't had much pretense to know why he cares about her at all. Like, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna follow her to the bathroom because that's not creepy and weird. So there, sorry, I listening to Liz and Rudy, you guys got me in this like pessimistic mindset about this episode when I liked it. I thought it was fun in the sense that it was very classic Doctor Who two-part telling. Yes, they probably could have smushed this all down into one episode, and especially since we're leading into a first half of the season finale, which is a two-parter, so two-parters back-to-back that aren't necessarily connected is a little disconcerting, but whatever, like, no big deal. So, speculation time. And some things that Rudy and Liz brought up. So if you're not listening to Timey Wimey, you have to go listen. It's worth the 48 minutes that they spend, at least this week, talking about stuff. Yeah, there's a little fluffy stuff and they go off on tangents, but so do I. But mine are short and sweet, and maybe we'll just get together and do like one mega video podcast thing. Anyway, that would be fun. So speculation, there's a lot of stuff to speculate, and one thing that Liz and Rudy brought up was that I wasn't even thinking about until I heard them talking about, is the fact that this Doctor clone, the Doppel Doctor, as Liz calls it, which I like, sorry Rudy, I like Doppel Doctor better. No, it was, yes, Doppel Doctor as opposed to Ganger Doctor. Yeah, so Doppel Doctor, is that he could play into the larger story about how the Doctor dies in the opening, and I think you guys are very right on, because the title of episode 7, which will be the first half series finale, is "A Good Man Goes to War." Like we've been saying back in the episode from last season when we meet River Song, is that she says she killed a very good man. So I think a lot of my predictions may have been right in terms of that River is going to kill the Doctor, but it may be this Doppel Doctor, and something else has happened, and that's why, things are going to end up okay in the end of this season, and why real Doctor, not older Doppel Doctor now, I'm trying to keep this all straight, is the one who dies and that the real Doctor lives. So it could be very interesting to see that them playing this bigger storyline, and now there's two Doctors, and they're going to meet up back in the past, and or Doppel Doctor sends the notes back to the original people to save them from killing him later. I'm so confused. I need a big board and timeline chart. So I'm excited to see where the next episode goes. And I'm not so sure that I agree with BBC America ditching the US broadcast and putting us a week behind the UK, because, seriously, dumb. So I don't know whether iTunes is going to release this week's episode or the next one this week, or wait a week to stay in line with the BBC America. I'm hoping iTunes is smarter than that. And you guys commented on the fact that not the confidentials, but at least the American version that's spliced in, which I saw during the premiere because I watched that on broadcast. It's super annoying, so I'm so glad I watched these on iTunes because I couldn't take any more of having to stop every 10 minutes for a commercial and then seeing behind-the-scenes stuff that has nothing to do, that draws me out of the moment. It's very much about being in the moment for Doctor Who stories, and I'll get the DVDs later so I can watch all the confidentials, because I like watching those after and not necessarily right after that episode. I like watching it just as a capstone to the end of the season and going, and remembering all these things that I had forgotten about anyways. So there's some, and the lady, the eye patch lady, I felt it was out of place. And Rudy, she was not in the Doctor's Wife episode. Nope, wasn't there. It's another constant reminder to this overall story that's happening along with Amy and the Doctor, but I almost didn't like to be drawn outside of this episode, or at least these two episodes, that they felt very self-contained in themselves and that they may or may not have been playing into the larger story, which is why I didn't think so much about the bigger picture issue with the two Doctors and how that might play out to be the Doctor that River may or may not kill, that the Doctor will die later. Because I was so focused on loving the fact that they were talking about morality and about people, and I'm a giant Isaac Asimov fan, and he deals a lot about this, but in the context of robots and robots being self-aware and becoming more like people, and how we as humans would treat robots if they become self-aware. And so the gangers are essentially, organic robots in a sense, who have taken on the memories and personalities and everything else of their hosts. So it's very interesting to think about, these two people living side by side and how they could theoretically live harmoniously with each other. But at the same time, there raises some very big philosophical questions about, well, I'm the real person, and even though you embody everything about me, I'm still this. And there's that one little discussion between the two crew members about getting home in time for his kid's birthday, and then the ganger says, "Oh, he's my boy too," and the original guy gets very indignant about that. And that's very human nature, which I think separates us from, or at least in this case, separated him from the doppelganger. But, at the same time, the ganger clearly cares about his child as much as the other guy does. So very interesting dynamics in terms of morality and being self-aware and being alive and being human. So it'll be interesting to see how Doppel Doctor ends up playing against real Doctor, especially with the other part that the Doctor makes reference that the gangers are becoming fully real, and they're still kind of in this unstable stage, and that's why their faces go back and forth between real people and the oh gosh, this fan just turned on and got loud, so we're gonna walk over here. Why they can't be kind of completely faced, and the Odo comment that someone made is fantastic for you Star Trek people. So I'm excited. I hope I don't have to wait an extra week, but at the same time, I'm not. We're gonna have like a 3-month break, so it's gonna be horrible anyway. So I want to know what you guys think. I want to know if you loved or hated this episode, what you think about philosophy and morality and ethics, and whether or not this whole Doppel Doctor thing may play off into the future about how we experience this whole through storyline that's going through. But I have a feeling that Eye Patch Lady will show up again in the second part and say something to Amy that will perpetuate that whole thing that's going on. I'm interested to see how the Rory going after Jen thing is going to affect the relationship between Amy and Rory, and whether that actually is a bigger issue, or all of us just speculate about this being an issue and the writers are just yanking our chain the entire time going, ha ha, this means nothing, suckers. So there we go, Doctor Who review for the Human Flesh, or whatever it's called, and we will see you guys later. Adios. What up, Rudy and Liz? Go listen to their podcasts. Button. Where's the button?